Donald Trump is back in the headlines and he's wielding his favorite economic weapon once again, tariffs. This time, the target is India, a country that's become a major player on the global stage. But what's really at stake here? Why is Trump suddenly turning up the heat on India, and what does it have to do with oil, power, and international payback? Let's break it all down. At the heart of this explosive move is Russian oil. Over the past year, India has dramatically increased its imports of Russian crude, taking advantage of discounted prices as Western nations imposed sanctions on Moscow over the Ukraine war. For India, this was a win-win. Cheaper energy for its booming economy, and a chance to strengthen ties with a key global supplier. But for the United States, and especially for Trump, India's oil shopping spree with Russia is a red flag. The White House claims that by buying so much Russian oil, India is indirectly helping to fund Russia's war machine in Ukraine. And that, according to Trump, is simply unacceptable. So, what just happened? In a move that sent shockwaves through global markets, President Trump announced a massive 50% tariff on a range of Indian exports to the U.S. This isn't just a headline-grabbing gesture, it's a direct hit at some of India's most important industries. On August 6th, Trump signed an executive order slapping a 50% tariff on key Indian exports, including textiles, auto parts, and even software services. These are sectors that employ millions of Indians and generate billions in revenue for the country. The message from Washington is clear. Keep buying Russian oil and you'll pay the price. The official reason? The U.S. administration says India's continued purchases of Russian oil are undermining Western efforts to isolate Moscow and end the war in Ukraine. By imposing these tariffs, Trump hopes to pressure India into cutting back on Russian imports and aligning more closely with U.S. foreign policy goals. But this isn't just a minor policy tweak. The scale and speed of these tariffs are unprecedented. Indian exporters, from small business owners to massive conglomerates, are suddenly facing a huge new cost barrier to their biggest overseas market. This is a seismic shift in U.S. India trade relations, and the ripple effects are already being felt across the globe. The tariffs are being rolled out at lightning speed. The first wave, a 25% tariff, hits tomorrow. That's right. Indian goods arriving at U.S. ports will immediately become a quarter more expensive overnight. And it doesn't stop there. In just 3 weeks, another 25% will be added, bringing the total tariff to a staggering 50%. For many Indian exporters, this could be the difference between profit and bankruptcy. The mood in India's export sector is one of panic and disbelief. Business owners are scrambling to figure out how to absorb these costs, or whether they'll have to lay off workers and scale back production. For many, the U.S. market is their lifeline, and now that lifeline is under threat. Industry groups are sounding the alarm, warning that more than half of India's exports to the U.S. could be affected. That's billions of dollars in trade and potentially millions of jobs at risk. The stakes couldn't be higher. India's government, they're furious. Officials in New Delhi have called the tariffs unfair, arguing that India's energy needs are non-negotiable. With a population of over 1.4 billion, India relies on affordable oil to keep its economy running and its people moving. Indian leaders point out that Russian oil is vital for their country's development. They argue that the U.S. is ignoring India's unique challenges, from poverty reduction to energy security, and punishing them for making pragmatic choices. And there's another twist. Indian officials are quick to remind the world that the U.S. itself continued to trade with Russia last year, even as it urged other countries to cut ties. The accusation of hypocrisy is hanging in the air, and it's fueling resentment in New Delhi. The reaction in India has been one of shock and anger. Newsrooms are buzzing, analysts are warning of economic fallout, and ordinary citizens are left wondering what this means for their jobs and their future. But the impact isn't limited to India and the U.S. Around the world, governments and markets are watching closely. In Europe, leaders are calling the move reckless and destabilizing. The European Union has warned that such aggressive tariffs could trigger a global trade war, hurting economies everywhere and making it even harder to resolve the Ukraine crisis. China and Turkey are watching the situation unfold with keen interest. Both countries have their own complex relationships with Russia and the West, and they know they could be next in line for similar U.S. action if they don't toe the line. Some experts warn that Trump's tariff bomb could backfire, pushing India even closer to Russia and China. If these three powers deepen their cooperation, it could reshape the balance of power in Asia and beyond. There's also the risk of a major showdown at the World Trade Organization. India is already preparing to challenge the tariffs, arguing that they violate international trade rules. If the dispute escalates, it could paralyze the global trading system and spark tit-for-tat retaliation. The world is watching as two of the planet's biggest democracies square off in a high-stakes economic battle. Will Trump's gamble pay off, or will it trigger a chain reaction that nobody can control? This is more than just a trade dispute. It's a test of power, alliances, and the future of the global order. So, what do you think? Is Trump's tariff bomb a bold move to defend U.S. interests, or a risky gamble that could backfire spectacularly? Could this be the start of a new era of economic warfare, or will cooler heads prevail? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more sharp, no-nonsense takes on the world's biggest stories. The world is changing fast. Stay informed, stay curious, and let's keep the conversation going.